Yet another Afghan Taliban's takeover at one of the key crossing points with Pakistan, without resistance from the border guards of the US-backed government in Kabul. This time it is a symbolic border crossing point between Afghanistan and Pakistan in Chaman district, southwest of Pakistan. It is the second busiest border crossing point. Thousands of people travel through this border crossing point every day with import and export of goods. Taliban have already taken over several other crossing points along with Afghanistan's borders with China, Iran, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Taliban are cutting supply lines to further besiege federal and provincial capitals after recapturing districts after districts. They are creating conditions to force Afghan National Army and other paramilitary forces to surrender. Taliban claim to have taken over 85% territory with no resistance in most of the cases after announcing general amnesty.
The Afghan forces, which were trained by the US and NATO, seem to be falling like house of cards. And Taliban are claiming that they have captured majority of the districts in Afghanistan. So they are very aggressive, their posture is aggressive, and the capturing of this crossing point, the latest one, is a symbol and a symbolic message to Pakistan that Pakistan has to recognize the reality of Taliban, and Taliban can overtake the entire Afghanistan by force. And this time around, there is no resistance at all.
Taliban's recapturing of a very important crossing point between Pakistan and Afghanistan in southwest of Pakistan is very significant. It has come at a time when the Taliban have already taken over key checkpoints in Bajour Regency and also in Wakhan, in the extreme north of Pakistan and northwest of Pakistan. And I think more important than that is Taliban's taking over crossing points towards Herat province along with the border of Iran and other Central Asian states. That indicates that the Taliban are trying to lay down a siege of Afghan government by capturing districts after districts, and also these crossings. These are extremely important because this means that this would be economic blockade of the Ashraf Ghani government, which has already been cornered in Kabul. The reason being is that the Taliban are now making what appears to be a very credible claim that they control 85% territory, because they were already controlling 70% territory, and within last couple of weeks, I think they have made a lot of gains after Taliban announced a general amnesty to the Afghan National Army, who are already demoralized. And before these happenings, there were at least 40% desertion rate. And I think with the general amnesty, things have dramatically changed in favor of Taliban. And now the bigger problem for the Ashraf Ghani government is that their troops are not willing to fight. In that situation, I think it will be quite easier for Afghan Taliban to take over rest of Afghanistan, which Taliban call is just 15%. But the point is, there is a very important development which is being ignored. The Taliban are not taking over the provincial headquarters and the capital Kabul. It's not that they are not capable. It is perhaps because of the fact that they are systematically moving. They are going for some sort of economic blockade and military blockade of the government in Kabul, which is clearly beleaguered right now, because the Americans have announced that they are not going to militarily support the Ashraf Ghani government in the event the Taliban take over Kabul. So this, as a matter of fact, reflects that the Taliban might have some sort of understanding with the Americans through Pakistan, where they would not like to embarrass Americans as long as they are here in Afghanistan. Once Americans leave Afghanistan, I mean the rest of the remaining 650 US troops, which Americans want that they should guard the US embassy in Kabul, which is the espionage center to monitor the entire region. I think if probably after September 11, after US President make an announcement justifying the pull out of the American troops, Taliban probably would move ahead, they would advance towards Kabul and other provincial headquarters, which for the time being they are leaving. And I would say that by the end of this year, probably Taliban would be fully back in Afghanistan. The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.